Hi everybody, my name is Steven from Data Kingdom. In this video I'd like to show you my best practice for loading in Excel files. I've prepared a file which looks like this. So we have product categories, we have some dates and we have sales. Nothing too spectacular, and I want to load that file into Power BI Desktop. Well, the first button you'll see when you open up a Power BI file is the Excel workbook button. So you might want to click on that one to load in your Excel file. My file is actually in a SharePoint folder which I'm syncing to my local drive. So far so good. But if I select that file, you'll see we will run into some troubles. So let's load it in. It will ask me to load either the table or the worksheet. Of course, the table is the best way to go because then additional rows and columns will automatically come in when we refresh later on. So let's do that. And this will bring us to Power Query. Some things to notice here. One, it's loading to my local drive. So when I publish this into the Power BI service, I won't be able to refresh it unless we install a gateway, which I advise against. Don't go there. And also there's a second problem here. If for some reason you'd like to have the Excel file open while you're working in Power Query, which happens a lot in my case, it doesn't work. When I try to access a file, it will give me an error. And that's because I can't access a file anymore through this particular method. The file is in use basically. So there's a better way. Let's go to info and copy the path. Now I'm actually copying the path to SharePoint. And go back to Power Query. One of the options that you'll find to load in the Excel file then is to use the web connector, like I'm doing here. So put in the URL, take off the last bit because you don't want to use that. It doesn't work that way then. Click OK. So far so good. Again, this will tell me, do you want to load the worksheet or the table? So far so good. Let's take the table. OK. This works even if I have my file open. So that's a lot better already. However, if we check the data source settings, we can see that for every file that I'll be loading in like this, so basically for every query, probably, it will create a new data source for which we have to manage credentials, update those, and especially when they're in the Power BI servers, it can get annoying. Every time you change the owner of a dataset, for example, you have to put in your credentials, so on. It's a lot of work, a lot of maintenance. So this is also not the best way to go. For that reason, my advice is always to use the SharePoint folder connector. I'll show you. It's actually here. We can click on connect. It will now ask me again for a URL. We can take this one. However, we need to take off a bit more. Everything from shared documents onwards has to go off like this. And now I will actually query all the files in my SharePoint location, which I have access to. And it will show all those files in a great long list. I usually need the latest file, so I sort them so that I have the newest files on top. And then I select the particular file that I need, like this. I want only sales files. What's also possible additionally is to filter on a particular file path, for example. What's also possible is to filter on a particular file path, which we can do here on the right. Our file contents is in here in binary. So let's click that one to open up the file. And again, I can select, for example, the sales table. So far so good. But I've still done something wrong. If we go back to this particular step, we can see that within the code itself, it's actually referring to the location of the file, which is okay. However, if for some reason I want to move that file, this step will break my query. So it's better to first make sure, again, that we select only one file, like I did here. In this particular step, we can replace all of this just by the reference to the particular row number, which in this case is row 0. Power Query starts at 0, like this. And now we can still load in our Excel file and we've built our query as dynamically as possible. Thank you very much.